How's it going, everybody? My name is Ben. I'm a musician and audio engineer. I'm going to show you a little tour of this mastering project I've been working on, Easy by Jana Phillips. Let's get into it. So that's the song we're working with. Right off the bat, first thing I notice is the high end is lacking. That airy breathiness definitely could be boosted a little bit, and that's the first thing I did. Also, the bass, it's a really cool bass line. It's sort of dissonant, and but it's very loud, and I think that it should be brought down a little bit just so it doesn't get a little bit too overwhelming. So I'll show you. Right here I have my 3-track setup. I have the mastered version of the song. I have my reference track, and I have the original mix. So I've been listening to the original mix. First thing I did was add in, here, I'll turn this stuff off so you can hear it as we go along. So there were 4 things I did to this track. First things first is I pulled it down 5 dB because there was not enough headroom. That allowed me to come in here to my multiband compressor. It's a pretty standard setting right here. I boosted the highs, everything above, like around 3.25 kilohertz. I scooped the mids a little bit, and then the lows I just left. So I'm going to solo each of these frequency bands out so you can hear them. So here's the frequencies that I boosted the most with this multiband compression. A lot of the hi-hat, a lot of the top end of the vocals. Here's the mids. That's what I pulled down. And then the lows. I didn't do anything to the lows really here. So before. So that's the biggest change for sure. Next up, we got the glue compressor. So here's why I use the glue compressor. I feel like the instruments are a little bit too far apart, and so I use the glue compressor mostly just to push everything together. Imagine pulling the musician's way in the back up a little bit closer, so everything is just a little bit more uniform. Or the technical term, it's a little bit has a little bit less dynamic range. Now I put in a pretty slow attack to allow those transients to pop through. I'll show you what it sounds like with a fast attack and then with the slower attack. So here's the fast attack. And then with the slower. So you can definitely tell, you can hear those transients popping through before the compressor is able to catch up with it and push them back down, right? We got the release somewhere in the middle, so it's not overwhelming, but it's also not pumping. That's the goal, at least with the release. The ratio is pretty low. This is mastering. I don't want to be doing anything too crazy. So the other thing this glue compressor is doing is getting the volume levels right, approximately at -14 LUFS. And so you're able to do that with the compressor. So before the compressor's on, I mean, obviously it's a lot quieter, but like it's -19 here, but then over here, it's -21. And then over here, it's -25, 24. And so that's a range that is too wide for us. We want a little bit of a tighter range. I mean, it depends on the song, obviously, but I think a good rule of thumb is between -16 and -12 LUFS. Yeah, so, it's sort of finding the sweet spot, right, between squashing it so much that you kill the dynamic range and it's all just one flat volume, which is not good. And balancing that with a large dynamic range where you have high peaks and low valleys, which is also not ideal. So getting it somewhere in between. The last thing really is this EQ8. This makes a big difference, I think, especially since the moves are only, I mean, I guess 2.5 decibels is sort of a lot for mastering. As I mentioned before, I wanted to take the bass out a little bit because it was getting a little bit too overwhelming, especially with its like cool dissonance sound. I wanted to preserve that, but I didn't want it to block anything else. We have just this low shelf filter down a little bit over 3.5 decibels. It's ducked, which is a big move for mastering, but it needed it. And then the other band that I used, I'll show you these frequencies. So that was used to get the vocals to pop out a little bit. I thought that they were mixed a little bit too quiet in the track. So I used this frequency band 3 to boost the frequencies in the vocals. Of course, it's also like a little bit of those high percussion sounds. So this is the mid, and then on the sides, I just boosted the highs. So obviously that's gonna add that high end, that shine to the vocals, the breathiness, and also to the hi-hat. But since it's done to the sides, it also widens the stereo image just a smidge. And then these are my metering. I have span hooked up to my reference track, so you can see the reference in red and the track that we're working on in blue. I tried to get the frequency spectrum moderately similar. And then yes, I have the limiter at negative 0.6 dB, so it doesn't get crushed too hard when we're converting it into an MP3. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please check out my website, rosewaterrecording.com, where I offer high quality but affordable post-audio production services. I'll even master a full minute of your song completely for free to prove my quality. I'll see you there.